So, yeah, this is why Kate Martin has just not, this is why Kate Martin did not go and sign a contract with the Fever. And a lot of people were wondering why, Kate Martin didn't go and sign with the Indiana Fever and why they weren't pushing to sign her. And I explained at the time that if Kate Martin's signing a dev deal, it's not going to be with the Indiana Fever. Why is it not going to be with the Indiana Fever? The Indiana Fever is the least attractive dev spot because they made it very clear they're not going to be playing their dev players. They made that extremely clear that they were not going to be playing their dev players. And everyone's being like, oh yeah, nobody's going to play their dev players. The one thing is no one's stolen the dev player yet. Nobody has stolen the dev player. But Kate Martin, the Sparks have been in a bit of struggle, and look, they just haven't been really able to get any wins without Kelsey Plum. And I think that one of their better, genuinely one of their better players this year when she's been on the floor has been Kate Martin. She's been in a lot of closing lineups. And she was always going to get her chances in LA. There were a lot of teams that signed dev players purely with the intention of eventually cutting somebody and then, bringing up people for the season. Because if we're going to be honest, my first example of this was the Portland Fire. Like, anyone who knew anything about Frieda Booner knew that, she was a WNBA player. It is, she was absolutely a WNBA player. She was somebody that was going to come in, maybe not as a starter, but was going to be a rotation player straight away. And her averaging 5.5 points per game is not a surprise by any means. I'm shocked. I had her going 12th. I had her going in the first round. Or not 12th, 15th. I had her going to Connecticut at 15. Much better pick than Gianna Neepkins, by the way. But that being said, she was signed to a dev contract because she was coming over late. It meant that they could keep someone in a full contract, and then when Booner kind of got up to speed, she was missing preseason, then they could bring her in. And with Kate Martin, it was very clear that her goal is to make the league. If your goal is to make a team, you don't sign with the Indiana Fever. Because the Indiana Fever have made it very clear they weren't going to play dev players. They weren't going to play any dev players. And they made that very, very, very clear at the start of the year. They're the only team that have made it incredibly clear they're not playing dev players. Maybe the Aces made it clear privately, but the Fever are the only team that made it clear publicly that dev players are just not going to be given a chance. Hence why, Justine Bassott being like, I want to make a final roster. And people are like, oh, okay, she's trying out to not make the Fever because she's never going to make that Fever roster. They decided on their team. And I'm really shocked to get rid of Walker Kimbrough. I'm really shocked. And they're probably regretting getting rid of Walker Kimbrough right now because, especially with Caitlin Clark carrying a bit of injuries, Walker Kimbrough maybe, she could probably help. They probably help. But at the same time, Kate Martin has done enough to earn a spot on this team. She's somebody that's going to be immediately in the rotation. She's, she might start. She's just one of those players that you don't really lose anything. She's only playing 7.7 minutes a game, and she's already played almost all her dev games. But my expectation is that, you were seeing here, that Kate Martin is going to be a key piece in the rotation. And again, that is fine. If you are the LA Sparks, that's fine. And it just shows the way different teams are running their dev contract players. Some teams actually have full intention of playing their dev contract players. They're using it as a 14th roster spot. And other teams are just using them as practice players. And it's clear, a lot of situations where teams have dev players that are just better than the players they currently have. In those situations, the teams are like, okay, yeah, you know what? We're going to have to find somebody to cut to bring in a dev player. And look, whatever you want to say about Justine Bassott, Bree Hall's so much better than Demira Stantis. There is no reason at all for Bree Hall not to be on the roster right now. Even if you aren't the biggest fan of her. It just feels like there's no reason for her not to be on the roster. And there's no reason for Passat to have not played a game. There's actually not. But this is a big deal. And it means they're allowed to play Kate Martin. The problem is they kind of waited long enough. They kind of waited a while to kind of hope. They kind of hope. If we're going to be real here, they were living in hope that Tania Latson was going to come along. And I don't necessarily think that Tania Latson was good. Like, I wanted the Fever to draft Tania Latson 10. I thought she was going to be better than Raven Johnson. I'm wrong on that one. I'm really, really wrong on that one. Like, I genuinely did think that Tania Latson was going to be an elite player, and I still think she can be a player. But, like, I think Latson's Sydney Taylor type thing, where she's got to just figure out a jump shot. But, like, if I'm Tania Latson, I'm like, get me to Europe and let me go and compete for MVP in EuroLeague. Get me to, like, a bad EuroLeague team and let me go and be the top scorer in EuroLeague. Like, Latson's pro career is far from being done, but obviously getting waived, going to South Carolina was the worst thing she ever did, because she was never going to be, she was a player that was always going to, her role was always going to be a spark plug scorer, and she kind of forgot how to be a spark plug scorer and playing for Staley. But yeah, look, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Kate Martin, the Fever should have pushed for Kate Martin? I do think Fever, like, Kate Martin would have been a better option than Victoria Walker-Kimbrough. They fired her anyway. I think that if Kate Martin was on the Fever at the start of the year, that she probably is in the rotation. I almost certainly think that she will be in the rotation for the Indiana Fever right now. Whether it be at the 2, whether it be for Raven, whether it be for Lexi. And, like, I don't think Lexi's that much better than Kate Martin as a basketball player. I know, sounds crazy. I don't think she is. There's a lot of things. Lexi's bigger, and there's a lot of things Kate Martin does better. Like, I don't think, and that's the thing where it's like, you've got one player on a dev contract and one player making 800K. Like, come on. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, shout out to Kate Martin staying in the league. I don't think anyone's surprised. Kate stayed in the league, because she's been solid. And she'll never be spectacular, just like she was never spectacular for Iowa, but she was solid on really good teams. And that was her role. She went to the Ace. The Ace was the perfect place for Kate Martin to go in her first season, because she could be solid. She didn't have to be anything. She could be solid, and she played for a good coach. And it was good on the Volks as well. And look, Caitlin Chen, the reason they got rid of her was because of Caitlin Chen, and Caitlin Chen's fucking hooping right now. But yeah, that's the video. See you guys.